members, this is Wife of Crazy Dave and welcome back to Thursday Threads. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Cora from one of my quilting groups on Facebook, because if she hadn't told me about this, I wouldn't know how to do this, so I'm really excited. Working on a block for a swap, and it's going to require half square triangles, and I showed you in a previous video how you can do that with like with the charm squares. Really fun, and if you've got scraps and things that you want to put them together, absolutely wonderful. But this is really cool, and I can't wait to show you. This is called the Match Gate. So let's get started. Alright, so first of all, what size square do you need? For this project that I'm going to be working on, I need 4.5-inch squares. Finished, you know, with my half square triangles. So for all of you people who thought you would never, ever, ever use that algebra again, yeah, we're about to do some algebra. So, if you need a 12.5-inch finished block, and you're going to have, it's going to be a 9-patch. You're going to need each of one of your squares that you're sewing together is going to need 4.5 inches. So you take your 4.5 inches times 2. 4.5 times 2 is 9, plus 1.5. So let's start with that. I'm going to make 2 squares of my contrasting fabric. So I want 4.5 times 4.5. 4.5 plus 4.5 is 9, plus 1.5. So I need 10.5-inch squares. So my trusty ruler here. We're going to line this up on my grid. This is 6.5 inches, so I need 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you do not have one of these, I highly recommend it. So now that's 10.5 inches. And I want to be a little wasteful here. I want to cut off the selvage a little bit. So let's do that. Put that in my scrap pile. So I've got 10.5 inches this way. Now let's go 10.5 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus my 6.5 on the ruler. We're ready to rock and roll. That aside. So I'm going to take one of my browns, right side up. I'm going to take one of my other colors, my lighter color, right side down. Of course, you're just going to put it together. Now take a ruler. And what I love is this doesn't have to be perfect. You have a little bit of room for playing. So if you're not, you know, exactly perfect, it is all right. You are just going to draw a line from corner to corner. Like so. Guess what else you're going to do? You're going to go from this corner to this corner too. So your X marks the spot. How easy is this so far? I'm loving this. The more that I do, the more I learn, and I am just having a blast. I hope everyone else is too. And every time I learn something new, I want to share it. So, yes, me and my pins. I have a tendency of it slipping, so we're going to just pin it. Now we're going to go over to the sewing machine, and we are going to use this as our guideline, and we're going to sew on either side of our drawn lines. 1/4 inch on each side. All right? So let's go to the sewing machine.
1/4 inch piecing foot. Okay.
So you see where my line is there? Right there on my piecing foot. We're just going to sew down this side. I'm going to flip that around. Again, on the line. Piecing for the guide is right there on the line. And this is why I like the piecing foot, because I have it up on top. If you don't have one of these feet, I would highly recommend it, especially for this. Now sometimes if you don't have one of these feet and you want to match things up, you can always put a piece of painter's tape. My mom and I always use a piece of masking tape, but for doing this, we're going to be covering this up and you're not going to be able to see that tape. So I would really recommend a 1/4 inch piecing foot. Okay. And then that way you just match up, and we're just going to sew down each of the sides, following up the line that we drew. And flip it over so you can make 4 seams. Easy breezy. So let's take our pins out, and I like to press it, so I'm going to take this and just go do a quick press, and then we'll take it to the cutting table. All right? And we're just going to press it. Okay? Not iron it, we're just going to press it. All right. Now the fun starts. All right, so you've got 2 going this way, 2 going this way on either side. We've pressed it down so everything's nice and flat. You're going to take your straight edge and you are going to find your halfway mark. And of course, where the X is. X marks the spot. And because the ends, the sides are fairly straight, I'm going to use that as part of my guide. And there. We're going to cut it in half. Okay. Then, we're going to cut in half this way. But I don't like having the 2 pieces, so I take one off. Okay. So I'm lining that up right there, right at where the X is. Now I'm going to cut down this line. I've seen some other people where they do all their lines all at once, but I'm not as good as they are. I'm still a beginner. So I'm taking it nice and careful. So I'm going to take this one. There's two. Okay. So far we've got 4. Okay, lined up pretty good there, right at where the X is. Matching up my line. And always make sure your fingers stay on your guide. Don't put them on the fabric, because then you've got an issue. I also like having a rotary cutter that has a safety. It only comes on when I'm gripping it. So, we now have 8. And then when you open them, you have a half square triangle. So let's press one of these, and then let's try to square one up. In one of my quilting groups on Facebook, I heard, no, I didn't hear, I saw a comment from a gal. And she was talking about setting seams. So I want to show y'all that. So I'm going to set my seam. Okay. Boom. It's set. And then, and it's hot. You bring that over. Okay. So setting seams, you pick the side that you want it to be on, and then you press it open. And then it's going towards my dark, so I pressed it here, I set it this way, pressed it open, and now it's going towards my brown. Let's go square these up. And as you get more advanced in quilting and wanting to do things, squaring up is very important, and I would highly recommend an Omni-Grid ruler. So you've got a square ruler, you've got your lines diagonally, okay? And let me show you what that is for. So we want a 4.5 inch square, so that they're all the same. And we want this seam to be right at the corners. And that's where this line comes in. So this line, we're going to kind of match this up. I'm 4.5 inches on this side, but I'm not on this side, and that is okay. We want this lined up very nicely. Holding it down firmly. Cut off the edges, okay? Now flip it. So 4.5 inches. 4.5 inches on this side. We're 4.5 inches on this side. And our diagonal is right along the seam. And we're going to trim that. And we have a 4.5 inch block. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Now all you have to do is go finish pressing these, and you will have what you need for doing the next block I'm going to show you. Don't forget to come back next week for the next Thursday Threads.